does it take to lead one of the most trusted developer tool companies in the world? Especially when nearly every Fortune Global Top 100 company is depending on you to get it right. Well, in today's episode, I'm joined by the CEO of JetBrains, who's going to be bringing something rare to the tech industry, because 15 years inside the same company is a big deal in itself. But he's been on a journey from junior developer all the way to the top. So he's a builder, he's an engineer at heart, and now a leader steering JetBrains into the AI era. So this isn't just a story about IDEs or coding productivity. It's actually about what happens when AI enters the developer's toolkit. Not as a gimmick, but as a companion. So today we're going to talk about AI agents that proactively maintain code, the emergence of non-technical software creators, the friction it could possibly create, and whether programming is becoming less about syntax and more about systems thinking, and what's the good and bad side of that. But most importantly, we've got a very human story at the heart of it. A man that is a CEO and a techie, and someone that cares about where software development is heading and how to balance innovation with responsibility. So with that scene perfectly set, let me introduce you to my guest right now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi all, my name is Kirill Skrygan. I'm the CEO of JetBrains, and I'm in the company for 15 years. I started in 2010. The interesting story behind it is that I started the company as junior developer, so I have purely technical background. I was one of the principal engineers. Then I started the new IDE called Trider. It's for C# and game dev. Then I created remote development and code with me technologies, which were really relevant in pandemic times. Then I led the whole IDE business unit, and now I'm the CEO. That's mostly it.
And how have you found that journey? Because I think it's very difficult for somebody that's technical to then go into a leadership role and kind of let go of that technical side, because it's in you and it will always be in you forever. Is that a struggle that you battle with? Or?
Absolutely. It's very interesting. It's different. And I see how engineers mostly struggle with all this managerial stuff, I think Ryder helped me because I was kind of a founder of a new business as an engineer, as kind of CTO, CEO, something like that. Well, I was the leader, but still I was really technical by that time. And I just felt so passionate about solving not just technical, but business issues, people issues, managerial issues. And I liked it. And then it moved more and more forward, and I managed more and more people, and here I am.
And as a technical guy, with things like vibe coding and AI changing how code is written now, equal who can write it, that barrier has been lowered somewhat. So how do you see the role of a professional developer evolving over the next few years? Because you've been on both sides of the fence here, and I'm interested in how you think this will play out.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's very interesting. It's really exciting, but also it's different. Like if we take a look at pet projects, if we take a look at prototyping in a fast way something, vibe coding is a real tool to help here. And of course, it democratizes, the software development in general. Satya Nadella told that they want to have like 1 billion of developers. Of course, he doesn't mean all this, computer science engineers, but kind of a new level of creators. I would like my mom to be able to create software for her family. It's going to be great. But if we take a look at industrial programming, it's not so obvious, because you cannot vibe code already functioning system on high stakes and a very high level of risk. I've been in touch with lots of CTOs and tech leads, and they say, well, kind of if I make a mistake with AI, which will cause me a huge drop in my system for even a minute, I will lose like thousands of dollars. Why would I allow that? So I think here we are in exciting times to actually finding the AI mission of the whole company of JetBrains here is that we're definitely for AI. We're really excited about this, but we want it to be embraced with transparency, with control, with human in the loop, So, and I really think that this is a challenge, but I definitely think we can solve.
And JetBrains, of course, is trusted by millions of developers and, may I highlight, nearly all of the Fortune Global Top 100. So how does that responsibility shape your approach to innovation? A big responsibility there, right?
Well, from the very beginning, it's interestingly enough, we are 100% private company. And for the last 25 years, we didn't get any external cent for funding. So we do not rely on venture capital. We do not rely on any of this, external money. What we rely on is a real value that we deliver to a software development market. And this shapes the whole strategy of JetBrains. So we are not hype chasers. We don't want to do like AI just for the sake of doing AI. What we care about strategically is about productivity and joy of software development. And because of that, we are doing what we do. And because of that, I think our AI mission to embrace AI, to make it more controllable and transparent, it's a perfect fit for our legacy, for our dignity, I would say.
And as you said right at the top of the podcast, you've been at JetBrains for 15 years, starting as a developer yourself. And again, I'm curious, how has that background maybe influenced your leadership style and indeed your view on AI disruption? Because I would imagine you've got quite a unique vantage point here, being able to speak both languages. And that in itself is somewhat of a skill, isn't it?
I hope to think that I have a technical leverage on some of the key decisions, because it's not a very, obvious field to go right now. AI, the world is changing so rapidly. And sometimes you need to think deeper. Like one colleague of mine, he saw we were discussing yet another gigantic corporation which failed in software development tool. And he said, interesting phrase, well, they overpushed performance and execution of teams. And I imagine this all these managers in these cabinets, they're saying oh, okay, what do we need to make these developing tools working? How many FTEs? How many money? We have all of that. Come on. But it doesn't work like this, software development tool. It's very sophisticated. You gotta really understand what's happening here. It's really technological. So I hope that my technological background helps me with these decisions. It's not just about business think anymore. It's very much interconnected with technological things and products.
And I would imagine you're almost a battle with yourself on those different allegiances. So let's test that technical versus management allegiance there, because many people listening will worry that AI could de-skill the craft of programming, especially the techies that could be listening. So, what's your response to those concerns? Do you have a more nuanced approach or opinion? What's your opinion here?
I think it will be evolved. Yeah. It will not be demoted. Imagine we already have historical examples. Like 40 years ago, all the software engineers, they were writing assembler. And they were writing, maybe C++ in the early 80s. So they know how to write native code, all this memory management. Modern programming software developers, they don't know this anymore. So does this mean that they are less competent? I would say no, because maybe they do not know about CPU caches or some very low level things. But on the other hand, they know much more about architectural things, how to design software on a larger scale. So I think we will have the same shift here. And what we are developing at JetBrains right now is kind of a new way of basically the new programming language in the age of AI. So yes, it's kind of a mostly natural language like English, but it's not so straightforward as English, and it helps you to actually embrace AI and to design the whole system in a transparent way. And I think the craft, the skill of software development maybe about designing such things, and the low-level code will be automatically generated by AI. On the other hand, I think that we believe that we will have humans which guide AI for a long time. So we need to verify pull requests, to maybe help AI with something. And for all of these tasks, we would need skillful programmers.
And JetBrains does have a reputation and has long been known for precision and developer-first thinking. And you mentioned you got these new tools here. So tell me more about how you're integrating AI in your own tools without even compromising that trust, because it is a tricky balance, and a balance that I'm sure you're all too aware of, and the responsibilities and pressure that comes with that. But for people listening, especially fans of JetBrains that use it in or outside their organization, tell me how you're using these AI tools.
Well, we have lots of very interesting, very exciting projects, which actually, constitute this AI mission I was talking before, to make AI more controllable, transferable, and also efficient. Internally, we use, of course, our tools. This is part of JetBrains culture, dogfooding first. And our software development agent, Juni, is a perfect example of this. So this is not just yet another agent to be in top 5 of SWE benchmark. If you haven't known, SWE benchmark is like right now the commonly used benchmark for software development agents. No, instead from the very beginning, we created agent which will be capable of solving real industrial tasks for huge mono repo, for example, not vibe coding tasks.
Yeah.
And we actually succeed, and this is proved by already hundreds of thousands of users of Juni, and this is proved by our own dogfooding feedback. So this is a perfect example of this, and not mention other things that we are having inside the company.
And I love how you're helping traditional developers here and maintaining that love of the craft, the art of developing. But you've also mentioned supporting the next wave, the new class of software creators that we're seeing emerging now. So who are they, and how do their needs differ from those traditional hardcore techies and developers?
I think that this new level of creators are people who they should not necessarily know the computer science anymore. This is the huge bottleneck. But they still can generate programs, maybe for their private internal use, for a family use, for example, or for public use, and they can publish on some marketplaces. So it can be both. My perfect example is that, for example, I don't know, I have a mother and a father, and they want to eat fish 3 times per week.
Yeah.
And there is no app to track this right now. It's a fully custom-tailored application. So they want to write this in English and to make this application work on their tablet, which is hanging on the fridge, And then maybe in 2 months they want to learn French and they want this application to be in French. Okay, again. So here we go. And I think this is a new emerging market we're seeing right now. And we have our own solution, Kineta, which is a no-code tool to create such things. Of course, we see other companies on the market. So yeah, this opens up like the whole new market here of creators.
It really does open up a whole new market there. And I would imagine while we're in these teething stages, there might even be a little bit of friction along the way. I don't know if Dave in marketing has created some code there for a vibe coded a marketing application or something. And then traditional developers feel that they've got to come along and pick up the pieces. It's not secure and all that kind of stuff. Do you see a little bit of friction like that, or do you hear about it now, or do you foresee it in the future?
Yes, I think that currently we are, facing this friction along the way of, let's say, no-code applications. Yeah. Okay, like for example, people are saying, I can create an application for 5 minutes. Great. And now I spend 2 hours of deploying this application.
Yeah.
Or maintaining or monitoring this application or publishing this application. So it's not just about coding. It's not just about creating code. It's about the whole software development, I say, arc, from the idea to production. And this whole arc should be optimized, should be reimagined with AI. And it is. It is being reimagined right now with a bunch of tools, not just about coding. Yes, I tend to talk a lot with CTOs, infrastructure engineers, which are trying to adopt AI as fast as possible. What they're saying is that, okay, like we clearly see with the metrics that we have 10 times more code being produced, but we also spend like 20 times more on reviewing pull requests. So the overall outcome is maybe 1%, maybe 2%, maybe 0%, maybe even less. So we definitely see a huge FOMO right now in engineering society about AI. They're trying really hard to find new things. But in general, you're right. There are lots of friction points. And I think the whole industry is solving these points one after each other.
Yeah. And the only reason I asked that question is traditionally in IT, going from idea to creation and launching something out there, that's part of the journey. But very often things then get dumped. Nobody maintains it. Nobody updates the application. Nobody ensures that it remains safe and secure. Whereas I don't know if that barrier is lowered and we're putting more and more stuff out there, how do we maintain that code and keep those applications secure and safe too? Is that just me being overcautious IT brain in there, or is that something that concerns you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It concerns me and the company. And we believe that sometime we'll have not just reactive, but proactive agents, which live in some sort of, let's say, cloud or on-prem, whatever space. And they are living their own lives, how you actually define them to live. And they're maintaining the code. And of course, for any of the high level or risky decisions, they ask the developers, the humans, to actually correct, to guide them. So I think it's just a matter of time when this will be the reality. So yeah.
That is such a good point. And I'll be honest with you, I never even thought of that. Here's me thinking old school, thinking about stretched IT teams. But of course, proactive AI agents can pick up a lot of the slack there and ensure that nothing gets missed, nothing gets left behind. So on a more optimistic note, as we look ahead, what role do you see JetBrains playing in shaping how people build software in a world that is quite exciting because anybody could potentially code with AI support? So what excites you and what role do you see JetBrains playing in that future?
I think that JetBrains will have a role of independent player, which will deliver, as always, as we already have half of the software development market, will deliver the best solutions to actually embrace, to control these AI tools, to gain this velocity, to gain this possibility, but in controllable way, in a way that it can be actually adapted to the real industrial tasks. And if you break down these words, it's about agent, which is Juni, which is to solve real tasks. It's about cloud orchestration of agents. It's about on-premise solution for enterprises and other companies which are really focused on security and privacy of their code, and we deliver such solution. It's about delivering the new benchmark. Not a SWE benchmark, which is only Python based, but the benchmark which will be in collaboration with real industrial partners, which will be not about how to solve Fibonacci number, but about real, industrial tasks. It's about a new way of programming, maybe the new programming language we will all have, all kinds of stuff. Also, another important thing is, what if we can do tools not just for humans, but for agents, for robots? So the agents, when they're using let's say, IDEs for agents, right? They will be much more efficient, much more controllable, much more transparent, and also, yeah, much more efficient too. I think this is really important because we all pay for these tokens, right? So, and I think this AI mission and this vision puts JetBrains in a rather unique position of independent player who doesn't, at the end of the day, solve one cloud's LLM needs, but rather solves the real needs of an industry, of real people. So this is where we are heading right now.
And listening to you today, you've certainly helped me think differently and think bigger when it comes to the role of AI in development. So thank you so much there. And for also highlighting it to everybody listening, especially in size enterprises of all sizes. But I want to see if there's something we can do to you as a little thank you for bringing this to life today. Some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or might even listen to this podcast or through a friend of a friend. So if there was a person you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with, who would it be and why? Because he or she might just get this message, but let's see what we can manifest together. Who would it be and why?
That's an interesting question. That's a really interesting question. Well, I would like to go to breakfast to the CEO of all our competitors, honestly, whether this is Cursor or Windsurf or GitHub or Copilot, because I believe that we together shape the whole engineering industrial society. This is so exciting to actually be with these folks together in this competitive market. So I would definitely love to chat and to, share some things with all of them. Yeah, but I would answer it this way.
What a refreshing answer. And I think it's more important than ever, the answer that you're given there, because instead of getting lost in those lazy headlines that we'll see in our news feeds of AI versus humans, AI versus developers, actually it is about collaboration. That is the big word, it's AI and humans collaborating together. And I love how you've answered that, and also saying that it's collaboration even between you and your competitors, because that's how you build something better. Beautiful answer. So before I let you go, though, for anyone listening wanting to dig deeper on anything we talked about today, especially around JetBrains, maybe even a competitor is listening and wants to take you out for breakfast or lunch, where's the best starting point for everything?
The best place would be, our website, which will point to all the efforts we have. And of course, you can always reach out to JetBrains in lots of our offices across Europe. So yeah, please come over to us.
Awesome. Well, I'll add a link to the JetBrains website and a link to your LinkedIn profile. I'm determined to make that happen. Get one of your competitors to sit down and have lunch with you on that. We'll see what happens. We put it out in the universe, but more than anything, just thank you for sharing your story today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Neil. It was a pleasure. Thanks.
So from assembler to AI agents, software development is undoubtedly evolving fast. But as my guest reminded us today, it's not about replacing traditional developers. It's actually about elevating them. And JetBrains, as a company, they're not chasing hype and buzzwords. They're building for what comes after the hype. Think new programming languages, agents that maintain your code for you, and a future where even your mum could maybe build an app for your fridge. And in an age where so many tools feel disposable, I love how JetBrains is firmly holding its line. Trusted by nearly every Fortune Global Top 100 company, they are grounded in engineering rigour and independent by design. Well, that's my takeaway, having listened to my guest today. But what about you? Do you see AI reshaping the developer's role or simply creating new ones? And how do we actually support 1 billion software creators without losing the craft? It's a critical topic, this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Good, bad, indifferent, everything in between. Tech blog writer at outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Remember, if you go across to techtalksnetwork.com, you'll find 8 podcasts and indeed a little record voice memo box that you can just hit record and send me a voice message. So I'm sure you're sick of hearing my voice, so let me hear yours for a change. Let's bust through that fourth wall. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.